Let's try this for like the seventh time today. YouTube's giving me some problems, but we will continue on. So first and foremost, what I want to do is I just noticed that we crossed our 2019 goal for subscribers. If you watch this channel for any length of time, you know I give you updates every month on how we're doing. And I think we were like 29 or 26 short as we closed October. And I told you I wouldn't talk about a new goal until we officially got to 3,500, which we did this morning. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. I'm curious. We have what 60 days, maybe 58 days left in the year. What do you think our goals should be for the rest of the year? I'd like to set a new goal for the next 58 days. Obviously, your support and appreciation is always welcome. Leave the number below. Let's see what everybody thinks. But first off, what we need to talk about is we need to talk about the Dow. If you remember on this channel, about 2 weeks ago, maybe it's 2.5 weeks ago, I talked about a lot of things were trending in the right direction, and that I expected to see records in the stock market. We got the S&P record like 8 or 9 days ago. It looks like the Dow hit it this morning, which rah, yay. But just like the 3,500 goal, you get there, you celebrate for a second, and you go kind of what's next. In that vein, I saw that Morgan Stanley just put out a report that said, basically, congrats on the record. The next 10 years are going to be kind of boring. They said, again, this is their numbers, not mine. What they said is a general stock market return over the next decade will be 4.1%. That's assuming standards 60-40 split stocks bonds. And just for the record, the last 10 years have been 13.8 by comparison. Obviously, coming off the depths of the recession helps, obviously. I'm just curious, how many of you today would take 4.1%, right? Just hit the fast forward button, you get 4.1 a year for 10 years. I might take that, frankly, because what happens to me is I never stayed in the stock market long enough, right? The stock market doesn't go like this, right? It goes, and what that meant for me is I would often get stressed and leave at the bottom. I would get overconfident at the top. So while it's cute to say that a 10-year mark will be 4.1%, I know that I wouldn't likely see much of that. It's just who I am as an investor and why I haven't been in the stock market for the better part of 20 years or so. But anyways, would you take 4.1%? Seems better than the savings account, right? A lot better. So that might be interesting. I'm not even sure what 4.1% compounded would be. I might have to do that math. I bet you I don't know. We have to do the math. Next up is Under Armour. Looks like Under Armour released a decent earnings as far as for the quarter, beat on revenue, beat on earnings per share. They did lower their outlook for the year, which isn't good, which is really what stocks are based on. And then they also indicated that they are under federal review for accounting practices, which that can't be fun. They've actually been under review since 2017. They've been responding to requests. And the fact that now it's kind of public, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I don't know if it's just curious timing, but the CEO is stepping down at the end of the year, previously announced. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. They've been very clear that they think they've done everything correct, but that doesn't mean that the federal agencies will agree. They could obviously come in and say, no, this is wrong or this is wrong, but who knows where that will go. I would say that a probe lasting 2 years that finally gets announced is, they probably feel like they have something. So we'll see where that goes. Again, stock market risk, sector risk, company risk. I would say accounting practices fall directly on company risk, which again is stuff that I could never see coming and why I don't play in stocks. Next up, looks like there are some Fed governors, or a Fed governor being pretty adamant that they're not going to hike interest rates early. They felt like they hiked them early last year and it caused problems. very adamant that they're not going to raise interest rates until inflation is at or above 2%, which is interesting. If you ever look at how inflation is calculated, it amazes me how I, as a consumer, can feel inflation in gas prices, in rent, all of that, and yet inflation is low, right? It seems like everything I buy goes up, right? The daily needs, but yet these inflation numbers produced by the government via some funky math never show inflation. So that is interesting. And then next up for me is, I don't know, are you guys watching this Medicare for all thing being I think debated and supported by all the Democrats? Uh, I haven't done any research on it, but I saw an article on CNBC that said they expect it to cost, on the low end, $33 trillion dollars, and on the high end, $50 trillion dollars over the next decade. That's 3.3 to $5 trillion dollars a year just by simple math. I got to check, but I don't think we collect that much in quote unquote taxes a year. I don't know how we pay for something like that. So I am going to do probably a separate video on this because I'm just curious, right? I don't know where you make that up. Maybe I'm guessing there's got to be some savings in there somewhere. I don't know, but uh, that was such a large number. I actually had to check it on two different articles, and they're both quoting 33 trillion to 50 trillion dollars over a decade. And they're saying no taxes on the middle class. And I just don't know how you get there. So I'm going to do a separate video on that. I'm going to try to again be an even keel as I can, but I just can't. That's a big number. I'm not saying Medicare for all is bad. Don't take it that way. I think it's a great thing. Health insurance for everybody is a great thing, but you got to be able to pay for it. And at a 3.3 trillion to 50 trillion dollars, that's I got to research that because there's just got to be some interesting math in that. So I'm going to do a separate video on it. I'm going to do some research on it today, and we'll take a look. Got an interview coming up in a couple hours talking about some more Fresno real estate. I think we're going to talk about a fourplex and some condos and even highlight $1 million property, which will be fun. And stay tuned for that. That'll be up probably around noon today. And if I don't talk to you, we'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.